Hey everyone, it's the Ioniq guy. Happy New Year. It is January of 2026, and it's been just about a month since my last update on what's going on with the battery replacement for my 2025 Ioniq 5. So for my first video of the year, let's start with an update. So for those of you who missed my first video called My Ioniq 5 Died, there's probably very few of you at this point because this video is probably the most viral of any video I've ever put out. It got 100,000 views in several days, which wasn't exactly what I hoped would happen because it brought in a lot of anti-EV trolls. At any rate, for Thanksgiving, my fiance and I went down to Philadelphia to visit her family, and we experienced a lot of charging issues. Then when we got back to the Boston area, when I was DC fast charging it to test it to see if there was an issue with just charging or if something else was going on, it did finally throw a trouble code, and that trouble code was one that became aware to us owners earlier in the year. I made a video about it where it means that one of the battery cells is out of balance with the others, and my car needed a full battery pack replacement. So on December 2nd, the car was dropped off at Myrack Hyundai in Arlington, Massachusetts. A case was opened with Hyundai to get things rolling. Myrack ran their diagnostics and confirmed, yes, that trouble code did indeed mean that I need a new battery pack. So the battery pack was ordered, and 16 days later, the battery pack was delivered and installed by Myrack. This all happened so quickly that I didn't even get a chance to talk to them before the battery pack arrived about getting into the shop with the technicians and shooting a video of the battery pack replacement. Now, a lot of you who have been dealing with the same issue are going to say, that's ridiculous that you got the battery pack in about 2 weeks. And you're right. I definitely got favorable treatment from Hyundai in regard to getting the battery pack sooner. And I'm not letting them off the hook. I know a lot of you think I'm going to shill for them because of this, but no, it is completely unacceptable for all of you who have been waiting 1, 2, 3 months to the point where some of you have lemoned your cars because you've been waiting so long and you're still making payments on a car you can't drive. So Hyundai, you need to do better. I don't care that you guys got me a battery in 2 weeks. I care that you get everybody else a battery in 2 weeks, or ideally less. So on December 21st, I took an Uber to Myrack and picked up my Ioniq 5. So I drove it around for a couple days. I checked the coolant level in the car. It looked good. So I said, okay, everything seems right. So leading up to Christmas, we went back to Connecticut to visit my family. But before we left the Boston area, I said, let me go and do a DC fast charging test just to make sure everything is good so that we don't get stranded in Connecticut. So before heading to Iona, I remote activated battery conditioning through the My Hyundai app, which would allow it to run for 30 minutes. So then we loaded up the car and headed to Iona, and here's what happened. So we've only been charging for maybe a minute and a half, and charging speed just dropped down below 100 kilowatts. We're at 48%, but the battery is on the cold side, but not that cold. I feel like we should still be pulling more than 97 kilowatts at this point in the charging curve. So yeah, let's keep watching this and see where it goes because that's a little concerning. So because charging speeds were so poor, we just decided we got enough to get back to Connecticut. We'll charge later that night, and then that'll be enough to get us back to Boston in a few days. So we got to Connecticut, we went and did Christmas Eve, and then we stopped to charge after dinner. So we got in the car, I went to manually start battery conditioning and got a battery conditioning error message on the screen, and I just kept pressing the button and the message just kept coming back. So yep, battery conditioning was completely broken. So we went to the Mercedes-Benz high-power charger in South Windsor, and here's what happened. I just showed up here with 8% battery, and yeah, the car is definitely not fixed. So the battery is pretty much cold to the point where we're getting pretty awful charging speeds right now, 75 kilowatts at 18%. I also realized the rear wiper in the car does not work. You can see rear wiper high, and it's not doing nothing. But yeah, can't condition the battery pack for DC fast charging. So actually, now that I look at it, the coolant temperature isn't going up at all. So it's possible that maybe the battery coolant is low. I'm gonna pop the hood and look and see what the coolant level looks like, because maybe the coolant level dropped after they refilled it. So that could be the problem. Let's go under the hood and take a look. Yep, that'll do it. There's basically no coolant in the coolant system. You can see how low it is. So back to the dealership it goes. So yeah, all around, this really sucks. So we spent a few more days in Connecticut and then headed back to Boston, and I immediately contacted Myrack Hyundai and told them what was going on, and the car went back to the service center. So this brings us to December 30th. Myrack was done with the car. I got it back. First thing I checked, rear windshield wiper, and that was working. Great. The paperwork they gave me said that it was just a fuse. And the next thing I decided to check was battery conditioning. So let's see what happened there. You can see right now the battery min and max are both at the same. The car's been sitting there at the dealership for a few days, so it's completely cold soaked at 30 degrees. The coolant is cold. So let's go ahead, go in and activate battery conditioning. So we'll just simply hit the button and we'll go back into CarPlay and just kind of see what's going on here. So we should see the battery usage go up to about 6 kilowatts or so, 7 kilowatts once it kicks on, because we have climate control on right now and that's using about 1 kilowatt. So as my teammate in the Eastern Edge called it, we've got bacon on the little battery symbol. So battery conditioning should be kicking on. We'll go to the settings here and this should tell us when it does kick on for sure. All right, there it goes. Just kicked up to 5.7 kilowatts, which is what I have seen it running at this winter. So we'll go back into car scanner and we should start to see the coolant temperature come up. That's kind of weird though. Here it's saying the battery usage is only 1 kilowatt versus back out here on this screen it's showing 6.5, 7 kilowatts. So not really sure what's going on there. That's kind of odd. So I'm going to sit, let this kind of try to warm up for a few minutes, and then we will come back and take a look and see what she's doing. Actually, on second thought, guys, I'm going to remotely start battery conditioning from my apartment so I can just go inside and do some other stuff, and I will come back in 30 minutes to see what the battery temperatures look like. All right, so it's been about 30 minutes. Let's check and see what the battery temps look like. What? They've literally not changed at all. Coolant 32, battery min 30, battery max 30. You've got to be freaking kidding me. Let's go to the EV screen. Yep, this is definitely not good. I don't know what to do. Part of me kind of wants to just bring it to a different dealership, but I feel like they need to figure this out since they're the ones that have already started doing the work. But regardless, this is ridiculous. Fantastic. Isn't this fun? So later that night, I tried it again and then got the same warning battery conditioning error that I did before Christmas. So here we are on January 2nd. My car still isn't fixed. They're going to take it back on Monday, January 5th, because Hyundai's Tech Line, which is the phone number that technicians call to get further guidance on issues, isn't open until January 5th. So that just meant I had to wait a few extra days. Not a big deal. I still have the Ioniq 5 XRT, which has its own issues that we'll talk about in a separate video. But until then, I'm just going to keep driving that as necessary. Now, the big reason I think that they gave me the car back thinking that battery conditioning was working was because the screen in the car was saying that it was working. It just wasn't actually working behind the scenes, which doesn't make much sense because that data for battery conditioning power draw should be coming from the same place that it is for the OBD2 scanner. So I'm not really sure where that discrepancy is coming from. And because the screen doesn't tell you the battery temperature, unless he was planning on running the battery conditioning system for 45 minutes or an hour or so, he would have never seen it actually get to normal battery temperature. So he would have had to plug in the GDS, which is their little diagnostic scan tool, to actually see what temperature the battery min and battery max were at. So the paperwork says that they added 10 ounces of fluid to the coolant reservoir to bring it back up to maximum. But the thing here that kind of chaffs me is they said, advise customer to refer to the owner manual for strict prerequisites required to enable battery preconditioning. I know how battery conditioning works. Please don't condescend to me about how the system is supposed to operate. Another thing their technician did was put a nice black smear on my headliner, so that's cool too. So yeah, a couple days from now, it'll be back at the dealership. Hopefully this is the last time. I really don't know what the issue is. The only thing I can think of is that they crossed a coolant line or something, or there's a connector that got misplaced or something. That's all I can think of. So hopefully the tech line can help them. I'm starting to get really frustrated here. It's been over a month now. As much as I like the XRT, I don't really want to drive it. I want to drive my car, especially since I need to shoot my 1-year review of the car in the next couple weeks. So I'm hoping I have it back by then because I want to get that video out to you guys. And there's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about for this 1-year review. So I think that's about everything I wanted to talk about in this video. Stay tuned for hopefully one last update on the ordeal of getting the battery replaced. Hopefully that's it. If you guys liked this video, give it a thumbs up. Check out my store for accessories for your Hyundai, Kia, or Genesis EV at ioniqguy.com. Just a heads up, if you're a Canadian customer, I did just recently launch the ability to order my products through my website. So now you don't have to do that through Etsy. You can go directly to ioniqguy.com and place an order. All duties and everything are collected beforehand, so you don't have to pay a courier or anything. Should be really easy. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.